Today we're going to talk about extreme weather driving. Driving under difficult weather conditions is both challenging and hazardous. You need to understand the specific hazards of different weather conditions and adjust your driving to those conditions. By doing so, you can avoid accidents and breakdowns and reach your destination safely in any kind of weather. The main object of this session is to provide safety tips for driving in extreme weather so that you can avoid accidents and breakdowns. By the time the session is over, you should be able to recognize extreme weather driving hazards, identify appropriate safe driving precautions for different weather conditions, prepare yourself and your vehicle for any kind of weather, and prevent accidents and reach your destination safely when driving in extreme weather conditions. When the weather turns bad, driving conditions can quickly deteriorate. Driving becomes more difficult and more hazardous, and the risk of having an accident increases. Extreme weather can affect your driving in several different critical ways. For example, visibility often decreases. Braking distances increase on wet or slippery roads, and moisture on the brake pads can create an additional hazard. Control of the vehicle also becomes a problem on wet or slippery roads, increasing the risk of skidding. The risk of accidents, injuries, and damage to your vehicles increase, and the risk of breakdown may also increase under challenging road conditions like extreme heat or extreme cold. Think about some of the extreme weather conditions you've experienced on the road. For example, a severe thunderstorm or fog. Consider how those conditions affected your driving and your safety. There are several general rules for driving safely in extreme weather. They all relate to adjusting your driving to the conditions. This means starting out earlier and allowing extra time when weather conditions are difficult, turning on your lights so you can see better and so that other drivers can see you better, slowing down and matching your speed to the weather conditions rather than the posted speed, staying alert and watching out for other drivers, dangerous road conditions, and so on, increasing following distance from 2 seconds to at least 4 seconds, preparing for stops so that you can bring your vehicle to a halt quickly but safely. This includes testing your brakes before you begin driving, and getting off the road to a safe place like a rest stop or a turnout if weather conditions get so bad that it is unsafe to continue your journey. Before you drive in any weather, but particularly if there is risk of extreme weather, check your vehicle to make sure you have emergency flares or triangles, flashlight, tire jack and tools, inflated spare tire, first aid kit, and jumper cables. In bad weather, you also want to be sure your vehicle is in good condition. Having a breakdown is bad enough when the weather is good, but you don't want to break down in the middle of a severe thunderstorm or snowstorm. So take a couple minutes to perform a safety check on your vehicle before you get behind the wheel. Test your brakes to be sure that they are in good working order. Clean all exterior lights to improve visibility. Also check to make sure all lights are working properly. Keep windshield wiper blades clean to prevent streaking. Use a paper towel and wiper fluid, or small alcohol pads such as a first aid kit also works well. Replace blades as necessary. They're not effective when they're worn. Worn blades can dangerously reduce visibility in rain or snow. Make sure your windshield washer reserve is full. Also check oil, coolant, brake fluid, and power steering fluid tanks. Make sure you have plenty of gas. Check the tire condition and inflation. Worn tires can't grip the road and may blow out. Replace them. Also, tire pressure falls with temperature. Check tires before driving and keep them inflated to the manufacturer's recommended level. Now it's time for an exercise. See if you remember the 7 basic safety rules for driving in extreme weather that we mentioned earlier. How did you do? Did you remember them all? Maybe you also thought of some additional safety rules that you follow in extreme weather. If so, that's great. You can't be too safe when driving in extreme weather. Now it's time to ask yourself if you understand the information presented so far. For example, do you understand what we've said about the effects of bad weather on driving safety, basic rules for extreme weather driving, the importance of checking weather reports, which items to include in your emergency kit, checking your vehicle for safety before getting behind the wheel? It's important to understand all this information so that you'll be prepared to drive safely in extreme weather. Let's continue now to the next slide and talk about driving safely in the rain. Driving in rain may not seem particularly hazardous, but the risk of a road accident increases significantly in even a little bit of rain. In heavy rain, severe thunderstorms, or hailstorms, accident risks increase as conditions worsen. There are many hazards involved in driving in the rain, including poor visibility, slick roads, large puddles, and wet brakes. Here are some precautions you can take when driving in the rain. Reduce speed in the rain and stay at least 4 seconds, not the usual 2, behind the driver in front of you. In wet conditions, stopping distance can be twice what it is in normal conditions, especially if brake pads become wet. There is also a risk of losing control of your vehicle in a skid. Use wiper blades and headlights, not just parking lights. Use the defroster if the inside of windows fog up. Be aware that roads are most slippery in light rain or when rain first starts falling. Rain mixed with oil and dirt makes roads slippery. Brake gently when roads are wet to avoid skidding. Also, periodically check your brakes during the drive. Slow down for large puddles, which can reduce braking capacities and affect steering. Drive through slowly, tapping the brake pedal. Pull over if you can't see well in heavy rain. Also, pull over in a hailstorm and stay in your vehicle. Flooding is a particularly dangerous road hazard. Safety experts say that flash floods are a major cause of weather-related highway deaths. You could lose control of your vehicle driving fast as little as 2 inches of water on a roadway. Most vehicles will float in just 18 to 24 inches of water. Driving into deep water could also soak your motor and cause your engine to stall. You could end up getting stuck and needing a tow. Never try to drive through flooded road. The water may be a lot deeper than it looks. Turn back and find another way to your destination. Be especially careful if you encounter water moving swiftly across the road. Stay well clear. If you get caught in floodwaters, leave your car immediately and move to higher ground. It's much better to lose your car than your life. Have you ever driven through a flooded area on the road? Do you realize now how unwise it can be? You've probably seen pictures of multi-car pileups because of fog. Driving in fog is extremely dangerous, and most dangers do not respond well to the hazards. If you get caught in fog, be sure to take proper precautions. Reduce your speed and increase following distance. If you have to stop, try to slow down gradually so that you don't hit the vehicle in front and so that the vehicle behind doesn't hit you. Keep your headlights on low beam and use your windshield wipers and defroster. It is also a good idea to use emergency flashers to alert vehicles behind you of your presence. Naturally, avoid passing on two-way roads. It's too dangerous if you can't see far enough ahead. When fog is especially thick, use the painted lines on the road as a guide. If you can't see them, It's time to get off the road until the fog lifts and you can see well enough to drive safely. If you have to pull over, make sure to pull completely off the road in a safe place and leave your emergency flashers on. Winter weather driving is a safety concern in many parts of the country. Here are some safety tips for driving in snow and ice. Clear snow completely off the windshield, rear window, side windows, hood, roof, and both headlights and taillights before starting out. Use windshield wipers and defrosters and turn on your headlights in snow. Reduce speed and stay at least 4 seconds behind the vehicle in front of you. Even if you have four-wheel drive, go slow and avoid risky behavior. Brake gradually. Watch for icy patches and especially black ice. Bridges and overpasses ice up faster than other roads because they have cold air circulating beneath them. Shady spots stay icy longer. Watch out for other drivers. People may panic and drive poorly in snow or ice. Some drivers go too fast for the conditions and end up in trouble. Finally, on sunny days when there is snow on the ground, wear sunglasses to reduce glare. When roads are covered in snow and ice or wet with rain, one of the greatest driving hazards you face is skidding. Losing control of your car can be a frightening experience and very dangerous as well. When driving in wet or icy conditions, slow down to a safe rate. Avoid fast turns and sharp braking. If you go into a skid, stay calm and ease your foot off the gas. Clearly steer the direction you want the front of your vehicle to go. This procedure, known as steering into the skid, will bring the back end of your vehicle in line with the front. Once the skid is under control, continue at a low speed until you are over the slippery patch. Keep your foot off the brake unless you have anti-lock brakes. Check the owner's manual for instructions on using anti-lock brakes as a skid or in a skid. If you've ever been in a vehicle that goes into a skid, you know how hazardous it can be. Try to fix these techniques in your mind and so that it will be second nature if you ever go into a skid. Driving in extremely windy weather can be a challenge, especially if you're driving a high-profile vehicle such as an SUV, van, or truck with an open bed. But in any vehicle, sudden gusts can blow you off course. You're particularly vulnerable when driving through flat, open country. When driving on very windy days, reduce your speed to help increase stability and give you better control over your vehicle. Also be sure to keep both hands on the wheel so that if you're hit by a sudden gust, you can maintain control and keep steering straight. Increase the distance between you and other vehicles. Be aware of vehicles driving in lanes next to you on both sides. And finally, be cautious when passing other vehicles. A sudden gust could send you into the other vehicle or the other vehicle into you. You might not think of wind as a driving hazard, but it certainly can be. A sudden gust of 40 or 50 miles an hour or more hitting your vehicle broadside could cause you to momentarily lose control if you aren't paying attention and don't have both hands on the wheel. That momentary loss of control is all it takes to have an accident. Driving in extreme heat could put a lot of stress on your vehicle. To be safe and avoid breakdowns, follow these recommendations. Check the coolant to make sure it's at a proper level. Watch your temperature gauge, pull over, turn off the motor, and let the engine cool down if it starts to overheat. When you begin driving again, open the windows and put the heater on high to prevent further overheating. Avoid driving at a high speed for long periods of when it's very hot. Take rest breaks for you and your vehicle. Use a low gear in stop and go traffic. Turn off the air conditioning if the engine is overheating. Here are the main points to remember from this presentation on extreme weather driving. Extreme weather driving is challenging and hazardous. To keep safe, be aware of hazards and precautions for the kind of weather conditions you could encounter on the road. Being prepared and cautious in extreme weather can prevent accidents, injuries, and damage to your vehicle. This concludes the extreme weather driving training session. Please be sure to go back and review any information that is not clear to you by using the menu to the left side of or restarting this presentation.